I did try vaginal acupuncture.
Wow. Oh my God. Like, where do they put those needles? On the labia?
Yes, on the labia. It was
Yeah.
weird.
I'm Sara Jane Ho, and this is Mind Your Manners, where no topic is off limits as we uncover the secrets to feeling at ease in every situation.
Traditional Chinese medicine, or TCM, is one of the world's oldest health systems. And when it comes to women's health, from fertility and periods to perimenopause and libido, TCM has a lot to offer. But in a world full of wellness trends, how do you know what's actually helpful TCM and what's just, well, TBS, total bullshit? Today, I'm joined by someone very special, my friend, co-founder, and TCM expert Annie Ho. Annie holds a Doctor of Traditional Chinese Medicine certification from the World Federation of Acupuncture Moxibustion Societies, WFAS, and she comes from a long line of TCM practitioners in Taiwan. She also used to be a high-powered fashion executive until a personal health issue sent her down a surprising new path. That journey included discovering vaginal massage. Yes, we're going to talk about it. And ultimately led her to deepen her study of TCM and build our company, Antevorta. This episode is about how TCM can support women at every stage of life, from puberty to menopause, from painful periods to fertility struggles. We'll also talk about the craziest TCM things our families made us do as kids, how we met and started our feminine care brand, Antevorta, and of course, we'll end with a game we like to call TCM or TBS, where we ask, does eating bull penis actually boost male libido, or is it just an ancient myth? Disclaimer, this episode is for informational and educational purposes only. It should not be considered medical advice. Everyone's body is unique, and you should always consult a licensed healthcare provider before trying something new. All right, let's get into this. Hey, Annie, it's good to have you on the pod.
Hi, Sarah. Nice to be here. Yeah, very excited.
I'm so glad you made it to LA, and it's actually a coincidence that you're here because we were packing a wholesale order for QVC for Antevorta, and I was short on inventory, and given the tight deadline, the only way was for you to personally fly with 4 suitcases to LA and help me repack the order.
Yeah, yeah.
What's your earliest memory of growing up with TCM in your household?
So my grandfather, from my mother's side, he owned his own TCM clinic. So he started his clinic even before 1950s. So that was kind of like where he made his first kind of bucket of gold. So as a child, I've always had that memory with me because I guess like ever since I was really small, like a toddler, as I was already building my memory, like my mother was always bringing me to visit my grandparents. So my first child memory was mostly of me inside this really grand clinic. In those golden times, like TCM clinic in the village, in the town, was kind of like the center. Um, People go there and then to socialize, and then not even just to see the doctor, but sometimes it's just more about chatting, chit-chatting, asking, how has your day been, and then talking about, what's the latest news. So
And this was in Penghu Island, right?
yes, and so it was an island. So therefore, we had a lot of interesting ingredients. So, and then all of the ingredients are kind of like saved inside canisters. So I would always be like wandering through the TCM clinic as if it was a museum, right? And then so there were canisters filled with, starfish, filled with, horns. Like back in the good old days, like there's a lot of ingredients that were probably already debunked by now. And then there's a lot of herbs filled with different smells. Like I, as a young girl, like I always like to discover new things. So I love like removing the canister lids and then just to smell like what each individual ingredient smells like. And that's very essential for me.
It's funny. I mean, you had that experience growing up in Taiwan, and I grew up in Hong Kong on herbal remedies. And I also have very similar memories of like the smells of TCM clinics. So something about it. Obviously, they weren't my family owned clinics, but my parents were really into traditional Chinese medicine. So we'd always be, going to try some new TCM doctor. And the smell, it's such a distinct smell. Like for our listeners out there, It's like this musky, dry. How would you describe that smell?
Aromatic, I think.
Aromatic. Yeah, but it's definitely not like the Western style Aesop
No, it's not
aromatic.
that kind of smell. Yeah, it's more neutral. Mostly woody, I would say.
Yeah, it is. It
Yeah.
is very woody. It is very woody. I remember the very first time I personally had traditional Chinese medicine was in a herbal soup format. And I think I was maybe 5 years old, and my parents had gone to, and I think it was in Taiwan because so much of traditional Chinese culture in the traditional sense is preserved in Taiwan, right?
Yeah.
Because of recent history in mainland China with the communist revolution. That that's another topic, but in Taiwan, so much of Chinese culture and heritage is preserved. And my parents, I think, had flown to Taiwan, and we were there as well. I was there as well with them, and they were doing the bai mai, right, which is the
Yes.
feeling the wrist, and
Yeah,
then
pulse
they get
taking.
pulse taking,
Yeah.
and then you get your customized herbs that are wrapped in like paper, kind of like square paper envelopes. And since I was there, they were like, "Oh, like look, check out our daughter's pulse." And when we took it home and then boiled it, because that is the most legitimate way to take these herbs, to boil them at home with like 5 bowls of water, and then they become like 1 bowl of liquid. It was so foul tasting. It took me like 45 minutes to finish a bowl of herbal soup.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd take one sip, and then I'd have like a piece of shanjiabing, which is hawthorn candy. And then I'd kind of be there like, making a face, and then have another sip and have another piece of candy.
A lot of people have difficulties like taking down like Chinese medicine because of this kind of like bitter taste that you mentioned. But I think like today, like in modern times, there's a lot of different forms. You can take them in tablets. You can take them like in sachet that at one go. There's even like flavors, like you can add flavors now so that they're like more easier to take. Yeah.
Well, I'm a TCM snob. I refuse to add any flavors. When was the first time you got acupuncture?
Acupuncture. So although I've seen it like many times, like growing up, but I was always kind of scared of needles. A lot of people have that, fear of needles,
My
right?
husband is like that.
It actually took me a long time to try acupuncture. I think I was probably in my teens. Yeah. I think I drank herbs maybe like when I was elementary school. So it took me like really like 10 more years to try acupuncture.
And what did you have it for?
I think I had it for breast enlargement.
What? Can you do? Oh my God, we have to like do a deep dive into that like thereafter. I mean, your breasts are pretty big, but you're also very tall. So I mean, you're proportional. But wow, okay, we'll have to do like a whole acupuncture for breast enlargement and weight loss in a minute. Tell me more, actually. Where do
Okay.
the needles go for breast enlargement?
So first of all, like I had my period really late. So
How old?
I was one of those late bloomers. So I was in more than 14, maybe 15 years old.
That is late.
Yeah, that's pretty late. And I remember like it was really embarrassing a little bit for me growing up because all my classmates of the same age, like like girls, right? Like they were all getting their periods and everybody was talking about, oh, my first period came, and then you can start to see like puberty onset, right? So the girls like they had my classmates like they had boobs. They were starting to look like, getting more
Yeah.
mature, right? But I was really late and I was really tall.
So you were flat, and you were flat.
I was flat until, probably at 15, right? And then people were dating and getting their first, boyfriends. And
God,
then
this
I
is
felt
a
lagging behind.
This is a Taiwan American TAS, Taipei American School.
Yeah.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
guys date way too early. It's not a healthy international school. Okay.
Yeah, and I think my mom was also worried.
Your mom was worried that you didn't have boobs?
No, because she had pretty large boobs. And then so she was concerned. So my mom took me to a TCM practitioner. And it was just pretty routine check. So it was the first time that it wasn't the first time, but then it was the first time that I went to see, like a really doctor outside of my family. So I had my pulse taken, tongue checked. They asked me about what I was more concerned about, my periods, like whether it was not my parents. So the period of my parents, my
Your
mother.
mother's period. Wow, that's
yeah.
like going pretty far back.
Medical history basically for the family. Yeah. to see whether it was like a normal thing like within the family to be a late bloomer or whether it was like my issue. And then turns out that I was just pretty normal, and then I had a bit of uterus warming, right? And then
You mean your uterus was cold?
yeah, my uterus was
Yeah, yeah,
cold, yes. And you know, with TCM doctors, like most of the time when they tell you there's an issue with your uterus, it's either dampness or warm.
Oh,
It's,
yeah,
e-
yeah.
it's mostly that.
So were you too hot or you were too cold?
I was too cold.
Too cold.
I was
okay.
too cold. And I think a lot of tall girls have that issue because of the, you know, it's difficult for blood to circulate to the end of your fingertips as well as your toes because you're tall.
Longer
right?
to travel, longer distance to travel.
Yeah.
Okay, but let's go back to like the breast enlargement, because that's fascinating.
So I had it on, I can't remember where. Like I definitely had some on my boobs.
Yeah, like where?
Yeah, all over.
Well, wait, so like a perfectly round circle?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, perfectly round circle. And it was also electrocuted.
So they add the electrodes.
Yeah.
Which actually makes it like 10 times more effective.
Yes.
basically, when you add
Adding the electricity is quite popular way to do it in Taiwan.
I insist on electricity.
I've had it both, but I think in China, like not all, it's still more traditional, like back in mainland China. Yeah. And then I had some also on my arms.
Yeah,
and
but
then also on the
so
legs.
how soon did your breast grow out from that, like the next day?
No, definitely not the next day. But it didn't really work. I think I quit maybe around 10 sessions.
Wow, you did 10 sessions of breast acupuncture?
Yeah.
Fascinating.
Combined with like the herbal drinks.
Your mother was seriously concerned. Okay, I want to dig into your career journey a little bit because it's obviously very impressive. You left Taiwan. You graduated from TAS, Taiwan American School. You went to U Chicago, right? And where you studied psychology. And then you moved to Shanghai. And what year did you move to Shanghai?
U Chicago, I graduated in 2002.
2002. And then you moved to Shanghai.
No, I was in Taiwan first for 3 years before moving back to Shanghai. So I think in Shanghai, I was in 2006.
When we met, I remember you were running a beautiful little brand, Shanghai Tang, when it was owned by Richemont.
Yes.
And I had just opened up and you were doing that out of Shanghai. And I was in Beijing. I just opened my etiquette school. And you read a news article about me and told your marketing team to come find me so that I could teach etiquette workshops to your VIP clients in store. And we had a really harmonious, like 3-year collaboration where like every few months I'd go to a different Shanghai Tang store around China to teach and styling or using the home stuff to entertain in the home. And then you went off to Stella McCartney, where you were CEO of Asia Pacific for 5 years. And then you went to Diesel Jeans, where you were president of Asia Pacific. Mm-hmm. So really, really impressive. Before you then quit Diesel Jeans so that we could start Antevorta together. But you had a personal health issue along the way. Can you tell us about that?
Okay, yeah. So I was diagnosed of having endometriosis. Initially, it was more like I was starting to get heavy bleeding from my periods. And then there was a lot of spotting like in between my periods, almost to a point later that the period just doesn't stop. And then the bleeding was so strong, so much that it really affected my life. So throughout this kind of like the irregular periods, I did get a lot of checkups. So I went to a different gynecologist and double confirmed the diagnosis, right? So the doctors at that time, I was really progressing like in my career. So I didn't really want to take time off to fly back from Shanghai, go back to Taiwan to do this surgery, because I also needed, time to rest and recover. What I did was one of the gynecologists I saw, she recommended that I could take gonadotropin releasing hormone shots, and in order to kind of suppress my fibroid cyst, endometriosis, so that it can kind of like reduce to a size that the body can deal with it, and then kind of like hopefully with the help of traditional Chinese medicine, the body can kind of naturally dissolve all the cysts basically. That actually didn't work out. So what happened was that the shot that they gave me, so it kind of tricked the body to think that it's in menopause. So that's kind of like how the body stopped pumping out estrogen, and then in order to shrink, whichever cyst you're trying to shrink. So that was the idea behind the shot. But end up that because it kind of forced my body into this kind of early menopause stage. And I remember like I lost a lot of hair like in that process, and it actually like never came back. And I had hot flashes like during that period of like 1 year or so. And then it was pretty serious actually, the hot flash. So I can relate to, when my mother was telling me how when she got her menopause, like she was always complaining about, all these like her body temperature going wayward. And waking up in the middle of the night, not able to sleep because it was so hot. So I had that, and then I had a lot of mood swings as well. So the mood swings were actually even worse than when I had period. When I had period, it was like always like going up and down as well. So end up like I still had to do the surgery. It just dragged on longer. Like the pain dragged on longer. So coming out from that, I kind of felt that, so what if like I just, instead of relying on Western medicine, like are there alternative methods that I can look into to optimize my health and then also like recover after, having taken that hormone shot, which forced my body into menopause.
Right. I remember you told me by the age of 35, your body was forced into early menopause, which led to major vaginal dryness, which led to major vaginal itching. And I still remember when you told me this, which I'll never forget. Like you said, vaginal itching, it feels like ants crawling on your skin.
Yes, it does.
Yeah. And so you tried a lot of solutions, right? Like you tell us what did you try?
Okay, so I did try vaginal acupuncture.
Wow. Oh my God. Like where do they put those needles? On the labia?
Yes, on the labia.
Like on the clit? Or
not on the clit. I think more like around. If it was around that area, around the vulva.
Wait, did Loy Yushin do that for you?
No, someone else.
Because listeners out there, me and Annie, we met through work contacts, but we really bonded over our love for TCM, and we would send each other to each other's practitioners. So I'd be like, go to my bone setter, and Annie would be like, go to my acupuncturist. Wow, was that painful? I mean, I've never like had.
Actually, it wasn't painful. It was weird. With acupuncture,
Yeah,
I think like with acupuncture, people have the impression that it would be painful, but actually it's not. Yeah. If they do it correctly, it actually goes directly into the right spots, and therefore like it's not painful.
Yeah, I mean sometimes it feels spicy, like a little tingling.
Tingling, tingling. And
that's when you know it has hit the right spot because it like released a blockage.
Yeah.
But okay, wow, and so but that didn't help, unfortunately.
No, it didn't help. Yeah.
Like it didn't help with dryness.
Dryness. No, it didn't.
What else did you try?
So I also tried. I took some medication. I tried medication, like Western medication, mostly like medication for antimicrobials or antifungal medications, in cream format as well as like in like oral format as well as in like suppository formats.
Yeah, suppository. So you put it up the vaginal canal.
Yeah.
Did that work?
Temporarily, maybe like for a week. And then once I go off the medication, like eventually it just comes back. Yeah. So that didn't really work. What else did I try? I tried steaming, like vaginal steaming.
Steaming, yeah.
Yeah, I did that.
That's actually an ancient practice, right? Like that.
Yes.
That's been around for a while until like, at least in the East, it was an ancient practice, and then Gwyneth Paltrow made it like a Western practice.
Yeah. The place that I started doing steaming was actually a vaginal steaming clinic.
In Shanghai?
In Shanghai, yes. Actually, it was more like it was a gynecologist, but then I realized that they specialize in steaming. They had like individual like rooms, like dressing rooms that you can just walk in, and it's all set up like with the things that you can sit on, and then the steaming apparatus, and then all the steams are already ready. So I knew that a lot of people were doing that.
Well, I love it. It's like a little spa for your vagina. How much did it cost?
It was pretty cheap actually. But the thing is, you had to go through the process whereby you see that gynecologist. Actually, it's more like a TCM doctor, and then they have to prescribe it, and then they'll prescribe you for like 5 sessions, 10 sessions, and then you have to go back to see the doctor again to get the additional sessions.
Okay, yeah. The Chinese people are always really good at like business, and finding ways to like, to running their business. Okay, and then you also tried. Was you tried lasers? What was it like the laser that you put up your vagina?
I tried that. So, so it was like more like infrared, and then so it's supposed to help with blood circulation. So there is some science behind it. It's a very expensive procedure as well.
How much
So
is that?
I think more like I think it was like 2,000 US dollars per time,
Wow, yeah.
and a session of like 30 minutes. Yeah.
Wow. Well, in New York City, V Spot, which is a place where we sell Antevorta,
Hmm.
they also have that. Like it's like the wand.
How much is it?
It's also upwards of 1,000 US. I mean, it's not
Yeah,
cheap.
it's pretty expensive. When I first did it, it was also just introduced in China. It was one of the new like technology stuff. So I tried that. Actually, I would say that it kind of worked, but for a month. You're supposed to do it repeatedly over like 10 sessions, and then it came to a point I feel like I couldn't afford it.
Yeah, I mean
Yeah.
that's a lot, like to spend. Yes. And then what finally worked?
I also started doing vaginal massage around the same time that I did the vaginal laser, kind of to complement each other, right? And then turns out the vaginal massage really worked. And then eventually I just stopped doing the massage because I got to a point in which I felt like it was balanced enough. I felt balanced enough, and then I stopped. But then I was doing vaginal massage for like about once a week. And I actually enjoy it. It's very comfortable.
Well, I'm
Yeah.
sure is it like I'm sure it's extremely comfortable. Like how do you make sure you don't orgasm when you're
You
getting
do,
a
actually.
you orgasm when you get a wow.
Um,
Oh my gosh.
I don't. Actually, the ladies that were helping me with doing the massage told me that it's very common for people to get
Aroused.
get an orgasm like while doing the massage. Yeah.
Wow.
And then actually it's one of the reasons why some women go back for it, because most of the women like who go for these kind of massages, they're kind of mature, right? So they're probably age 45 or above.
Yeah,
They're probably
middle-aged.
not getting a lot of action.
They need to spice up their life. They go to
Yeah.
they go to another middle-aged woman for a vaginal massage.
Yeah. It's actually not as sexual as you think. There's at least two other people besides myself in the room.
Wait, are they curtains?
No, I mean like two people who are servicing you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Wow, 4 hands on the body. It's like a 4 hands, because in Hong
Yeah.
Kong we say like, oh, 四手, 四手. It's like, at least for Hong Kongers, when we're getting massages, it's very important. It's like, wow, 2 hands or 4 hands or 6 hands massage. This is like a 4 hands vaginal massage. Okay, and so this worked, right? Because I remember then, we were meeting up, and I was interested. It was just before my Netflix show came out, and I was interested in doing something, for China, taking some part of Chinese culture and putting it into, basically taking what makes me healthy and happy and sharing it with the rest of the world. And that at that time was when we were chatting about this, and you were sharing this, and I remember you said like you realize doing a weekly vaginal massage is also not sustainable. There has to be a better way.
I realized that one of the reasons why the vaginal massage worked was because it was in the cream that they use for the massage. I asked them about what ingredients go into the cream. I didn't see any products off the shelf for that. And then they told me that it's a special blend of, several herbs, like traditional Chinese medicinal herbs. Then I started looking into these herbs. Then I started looking into, okay, so what kind of herbs, what kind of formulation could be good for vaginal dryness or, vaginal itch, other issues related to women's health. Then I started, speaking to you about, okay, so what if we develop products for feminine health rooted in traditional Chinese medicine, looking into different formulation, and then incorporating some of those herbs into our current formula.
Yeah. And it made so much sense to me because in traditional Chinese medicine, a woman's health begins in her feminine health. So even your period is a report card of your health. Like, are you regular? Heavy or light flow? Do you have blood clots? Menstrual cramps? And we decided to start with feminine hygiene, right? So with wash, wipes, and sprays, which for those of you, and this is why you should check out the YouTube video. We have a little display over here. We have wash, wipes, and sprays all for your vulva, which is your external genitalia, to fight odor, dryness, and irritation. Let's jump into TCM foundations for women's health. What are some misconceptions about TCM?
It's not really a misconception. It's more about a tendency for people to see TCM in the perspective of Western medicine. So a lot of people tend to compare the two systems and then use that comparison as the basis to decide whether TCM is valid, is credible or not. But actually from a philosophical point of view, like both systems, they're not comparable. They come from different thought systems and philosophies. So for example, like in TCM, like within the traditional Chinese medicine philosophy, it's not really about finding the root cause to a problem. There's no cause and effect relationship. Everything is related to something else, and then everything is circular. That's why, like, you see, that yin yang logo that's very prevalent, like,
Yeah.
everywhere.
And it's the black and white logo that's a circle with a little dot and a wave in it.
And then it's a circle, but then if you look closely, like inside the white area and the black area, it looks like they're intertwined with each other. And then in reality, the black is chasing the white is chasing the black. So it's a sign that, everything is connected. So in TCM philosophy, the human body is a system, and our system is interrelated with our external world. So everything is kind of like in flux and working, with each other. There's no reason that one cause will cause a particular symptom. It's more like a systematic issue. It's holistic, and then it's due to imbalances. So whenever there's a issue like within your body from a TCM perspective, like it's really an imbalance. So instead of fixing that one thing, we actually have to fix the whole system to make sure that the balance is restored. So it's more about that. So I think that's kind of like the first foundation of TCM, which I actually really, really like.
And, I often say Western medicine is about fixing symptoms. So they'll cover up the symptom. They'll maybe give you a steroid cream, right? So it covers up that symptom, but then like out comes a side effect. And traditional Chinese medicine is about prevention, and it's about your lifestyle, and incorporating like food as medicine, or
Yes.
all those kinds of things. And of course, it's hard to hold yourself to some kind of lifestyle or rule 100% of the time. But I like to say it's that 80-20 rule, right? As long as you're doing like 80% of the time, I'm drinking hot water. And those of you watching the YouTube video can see, I have my trusty hot water bottle with me everywhere. And then, 20% of the time, maybe, I'm doing shots at the club. And that's okay. What is TCM really? Because, we talked about herbs, we talked about acupuncture, but there's so much more than that, right? There's food therapy, qi regulation, 推拿, Chinese medical massage. Like, can you tell us a little bit about that kind of stuff?
Traditional Chinese medicine is about habits, I think, lifestyle habits mostly. And there's a lot of different tools or things that you can use to boost your lifestyle habits or to complement your lifestyle habits. Like 推拿, for example, or kind of Chinese way of massage is different from, just the standard massage in that it's related to acupuncture spots inside your body, within your body, as well as meridians. So the point of doing 推拿 is to kind of like remove the stagnation within your meridians, so that your qi, or your essence, your vitality, is flowing through the body in an optimal way. So it's like you go for a massage like as a lifestyle habit, right? You like it,
China,
you enjoy it, right?
Me and my husband go for massages. Same with all my girlfriends. Everybody's getting massages.
Yeah, but 推拿 is more like incorporating something into your lifestyle habit.
Yes.
Yeah, so that it's supposed to meet your lifestyle habit. And so you can pick whatever meets your lifestyle habit. So 推拿 is one, right? There's also, cupping, right? Some people like that.
I do it all the time.
Some people like, bloodletting.
I do that too.
Yeah.
Love bloodletting.
Some people like acupuncture. Like, despite the fact that acupuncture is, involving needles, people have a fear of needles, but some people really enjoy it. Yeah, I also enjoy it. Like, the moment when the needle actually goes into the right spot, you can feel it's being sucked in.
Wow.
I kind of like that. Also, like as Freud said, like everybody likes a lot of pain.
Oh, did Sigmund Freud say that? Everybody likes a lot of pain?
Well, I mean, he also said that people have kind of like the drive to death. So it's called Thanatos. Yeah, death drive.
Well, growing up in Hong Kong, there was always one motto everybody lived by, which was no pain, no gain.
Yeah.
And so that's why when I do massages outside of China, and people are like, I'm like, harder, go harder, go harder. And they're like, oh, you must be from Hong Kong, like, because Hong Kong people have the highest tolerance for pain. TCM also views the uterus as a key energy center, right?
Yeah. Within the TCM actually splits people into like life stages. So every 7 years, like, it's supposed to be like one key life stage, right? And then so for women, they said that there's 3 key opportunities to life, 3 golden opportunities. The first golden opportunity is when your period comes. So that's when like you receive the opportunity to give child. And then the second opportunity is when you're giving birth. And then the third opportunity is actually when you're hitting menopause. So all these 3 are, if you think about it, is related to the function of your uterus.
So if it's every 7 years, that means what? 0 to 7, 7 to 14.
Well, in between there are other seven years, but then not all 7 years is, not all life stages are opportunity. There's only 3 opportunities out of the different life stages. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. And in terms of the idea of balance, which you mentioned, we talked about yin and yang, and how, that's why a lot of TCM clinics or even massage clinics, right, will have that yin and yang sign. For our listeners out there, here's a simple 101 on the yin and yang. Yin is the feminine, yin is the moon, yin is the mysterious, the spirit world, the soft, and yang would be described as the masculine, the sun, the sort of the life world, right, Annie? Is there anything that like we should add to that?
So I think that's a misconception.
Oh shit. Okay.
So there's within the TCM philosophy, there's a dichotomy to everything. Everything can be broken down into yin and yang, further into yin and yang, further into yin and yang. You can just break it down. It's like atoms. Like there's like, you can just break it down into, like electrons and protons and whatever. And then, so for example, within the human body, right? So the back is yang, and then the front is actually yin. And then if you consider the front, right? And then the different parts of the front are broken into yang or yin. So usually the top half is yang, and then the bottom half is yin. So Chinese really, the whole TCM system is based on categorization, because when they categorize things, it makes it easier for people to find relations between like the different elements. And so breaking things into dichotomies make it easier for people to kind of like identify, diagnose, and then develop, develop prognosis. Yeah.
Can you give an example?
So for example, like people would think that like the bottom half of the body is yin, right? Because it's farther away from the sun, it's closer to the ground. So the sun is considered, like you were saying, like the sun warm, generally speaking, is considered like yang. And then coldness, or the bottom half, inside, or like shyness, there are also temperaments that are involved in yin and yang. So these are considered like yin.
Oh, so this is why, as from the beginning of time, our mothers tell us not to walk barefoot on a cold floor, because the cold floor is cold. It's yin, it's close to the ground, and that would bring dampness into our bodies.
It's more like qi, right? So qi, which is
let's talk about qi and blood, right? Because
so qi is more like kind of like the vitality, like the energy that flows through your body. So that's qi, right?
It's what makes us alive, right?
Yes.
Because if we're dead, we don't have qi, do we?
Yes. No, you don't.
Oh, good.
So qi.
I got that one right. So because when I go to the TCM doctor and he feels my pulse, he always goes qi xue bu zu, which means your qi and your blood are not enough.
Yes. So a lot of us, especially people living in modern times, like a lot of us, don't have enough qi, or don't have enough blood like circulating.
Yeah, and
so that's why, like because we're stressed all the time, and then we're sleeping late. Yeah. So if you think about like the our ancestors, they lived like super healthy life. They wake up at like 5-6 a.m. and then they go to bed at 8 p.m.
Yeah, well, around the sun, right?
Around the sun, and then they also eat earlier, which helps with digestion.
Yep.
Right, and it's just very healthy lifestyle. But with us, like first of all, we're sleeping much less. We're sleeping and waking up later. Also, like we have very, very fast-paced life, and we have a lot of stimulus basically that are stressors that are interfering with our natural balance basically, and those all cause us to those all take away qi from us.
Yeah, even caffeine, right?
Yeah,
caffeine. What else? Alcohol.
All that stuff.
Yeah, all that stuff. Like sleeping late, being stressed. Yeah. That leads to like a lack of qi and blood. What about this concept of hot and cold, right? We'll be like, oh, this food is heaty, or this food ginger is warming, or that's cold. Like, can you describe that concept to us?
So similar to the yin and yang, right? So all the elements in the world eventually can be broken down into kind of like their nature. So hot or cold are, some natures. And so it's easy. There's also spicy, there's also sour, there's also sweet. There are different natures to different food or elements, right? And so with hot and cold food, it's not necessarily like good or bad for you. Again, it really depends on what your body condition is at the time. So say for example, if I am in a really hot climate, like I'm in a desert, having a cold drink would be comfortable for me. It wouldn't hurt me.
Cool the body,
Yeah, it will
right? 'Cause
help
you're
cool the body.
overheated.
Yes. But at the same time, like similarly, like if I'm already in a cold climate, like if I'm, typically if I'm, like in, I think 20 degrees Celsius, like how much Fahrenheit is that? 70? Yeah, so that is already considered cold for the body. So in that case, you should not be drinking like ice drinks.
Yeah, but and because the body, what is body temperature? Is it 37 Celsius?
Yes.
Okay, so that's 98 Fahrenheit is the temperature that our body operates at. So actually, anything colder than that would probably be too cold for the system.
Yes.
And anything warmer than that is actually good for the system, right? I mean, obviously you don't want to drink too hot. You don't want to scald yourself, but warm or hot is good. Because in China we always drink 开水, which is like hot water.
Yes. Cold water, generally speaking, is not very good. Usually because I think more so for digestion, and then secondly for bad circulation. Yeah.
Yeah, and actually I just did a Instagram reel the other day saying why everybody in China just drinks hot water, and it went kind of viral.
Yeah.
So guys, check out my Instagram. I think I posted it, I don't know, a few months ago. But going back to like this hot warming foods and cold cooling foods again, the step one is you need to know like your deeds, right? You need to know like what your body is. Are you too heaty or are you too cold? And how does one find that out? Because one of my followers like left that on my comment. They were like, how do I know if I'm too hot?
Okay, so first of all, like if you go to a TCM practitioner, they can take your pulse. You can see quite easily on a pulse like whether you are in a heated state or like a more damp or more cold state. They can take the pulse and tell you.
How can they tell? Like, is your pulse quicker if you're hot?
So for example, like if your pulse is like stronger but irregular, so it's likely that you are more heated. So you can actually feel it yourself. So 3 fingers, right? So usually when they take the pulse, it's 3 fingers.
It's always 3 fingers. And is it the left side or the right side? They take both sides usually.
Both sides. But it's towards the side of the thumb.
The side of the thumb, guys.
Yeah.
Okay, and this is why you should go to the YouTube video.
You can put 3 fingers, I would say probably parallel to your thumb.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, like that. And then you can actually feel, so you can feel kind of like, it's like a heartbeat, right? So you can feel so that you can feel. So you can feel like whether it's irregular, whether it's strong. And then there's this thing where it's kind of like pearls. Now this kind of take experience to feel.
Pearls?
So there are like round things that are, going through your veins. So
through the blood?
Yeah, through the blood, yeah. It's like a pearly texture.
Okay, interesting.
And then the bigger the pearls, is like the coarser the pulse is, the more heated you are.
Oh.
So that's kind of like a general principle. And then but then if, for example, like you can also feel like if your pulse is like, it feels like something's not going through, like it feels a little bit stuck, like it's slow.
Yeah, mine's slow.
Then you might be damp. And then usually dampness and coldness, like they kind of go together. So if, for example, like if your pulse is slow and then kind of like slurpy, rather than, like smooth.
That's mine.
It's probably damp. And then at the same time, like if it's very weak, like you can, like the beat
Also
part
mine.
is also weak.
Yeah.
Then it's also lack of qi.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like just general principle, but there's like the whole pulse thing is actually very complicated. Like
because there are 3 pulses, right? Like there are 3, one's for the heart, one's for the spleen, is it? And there's another one.
Yes, is that. And then plus at the same time, like the reason why they use 3 is because first of all, you have to verify, right? And then the first fingers kind of like what it feels need to be verified by the second and third as well.
It's like a second and third opinion.
Yeah.
Each finger is like a second and third opinion.
And then at the same time, also, like, you know how when you go to TCM doctors, they lift their fingers, right?
Yes, they do.
They do that. And then the reason is because they want to feel the change of pressure, like when one finger is lifted.
And the pulse is pretty amazing. For those of you who've watched my Netflix show, Mind Your Manners, I think it was like one of the later episodes, 4, 5, or 6, where I take my student to go to a TCM doctor and he feels a pulse. She doesn't tell him anything, but he spits out to her everything that's wrong with her body, and she's amazed. And this pulse taking, you can think of it as a body scan through the pulse. And in fact, a TCM doctor can even know when you're pregnant just through the pulse.
Yes, yeah.
Because the pulse is quicker, right?
The pulse is smoother.
Smoother.
Yeah, it's called a smooth pulse. 滑
Or
脉
happy pulse, right? 不是喜脉嘛?
Yeah, 喜脉滑脉都是 yes.
Yeah, 喜脉
yeah.
滑脉. Okay, let's go into menstrual health and hormone balance. What is the TCM approach to treating PMS, cramps, and irregular cycles?
Okay, so from the TCM principle, like when they're looking at fertility issues, they can be categorized into two main types of issues. The first is a deficiency in your kidney yang, the yang aspect of your kidney organ in particular. So that's kind of like the first type of infertility or period or menstrual issues. The second type is more associated with an overall lack of qi. So qi, is kind of like vitality, the energy that runs through your body, right? So without energy, actually you would experience a general sense of lack of health, not only for your uterus or for your femininity. So for example, like how do you distinguish like whether you have the issue with the kidney yang or the lack of qi? So with kidney yang, so it will be more like you can kind of feel like your period is very crampy, like very painful, as well as like you can see blood clots. With kidney yang, like it's mostly about stagnation. And then with qi, you can feel that it's mostly about like you're tired all the time in general, not only during the period. In the period it'll be worse. Not necessarily that you have pain, but then mostly like you're just tired all the time, and then you have bad sleep, and then you have issues with concentration. So more like a general sense of weakness, not necessarily just like in your uterus or in your womb. So how do you treat the both? So generally speaking, if it's a qi deficiency, then you can eat herbs or food, as you mentioned, like taking food that can give you more qi, like ginseng, for example, or like goji berries as well.
Yeah, red dates.
These gonna all give you more qi. The other thing is you can also just take some rice. So one of the reasons why TCM practitioners, they always recommend you take some white rice.
Yeah, always eat white rice. This is
Right,
qi, right?
Yes,
It helps,
qi. Yes.
It helps replenish your vitality.
Yes. And then it is with qi that your stomach is able to digest anything that you intake. So, like if your qi is already weak, and then if you're taking like health supplements, it actually doesn't work. What you actually need is to first boost your digestion so that when you're intaking any nutrition value stuff, like it actually gets absorbed.
Oh, so that's the reason why every Chinese person likes to eat rice.
Yes.
And it's true. Often Chinese people, that we say, if we don't have white rice, we're not full, right? We don't feel full. But that's because if we didn't have the white rice, things are not digested properly. And so we don't have that feeling of satiety.
Oh, true.
Yeah, that makes sense now. So my period has always been irregular. And whenever I fly, especially long haul, like I fly LA, Shanghai a lot, right? Every time I fly, my period's delayed by like 5 to 7 days. And so for me to stay regular, I religiously do acupuncture. And they go in the ba liao, like in my tailbone on my back, what's called the sacral points. And it's like this little V above my tailbone of like 4 needles. If I'm late or if my period's like spotting and trying to come, I go to that, get the needles in, add the electro nodes. I'll come off the table and my period will come like that day or the next day. I find that acupuncture really, really helps for that. I have a girlfriend, she's from New York, never been to China in her life, and she said she didn't have a period for a year. And then she went to acupuncture for something else, like for her neck. And then the therapist was like, oh, is there anything else like, about your body I should know? She's like, oh, I haven't had my period in a year. It's okay. Put in needles. The next day she got her period.
Actually, I find that acupuncture is especially effective for blood stagnation related issues. Yeah, and then so for example, if people have high blood pressure in general, right? And then if you go to do like acupuncture, like immediately after the acupuncture, you can see like your blood pressure actually lowers. And it actually does work. Yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And then in terms of the supplements, I take 八珍一母丸, which is this like classic formula for scanty or light periods. And a girlfriend of mine, she takes 四物汤, which is 4 substances decoction, because she had delayed periods. And I think I might try that. These things are not for people who have heavy periods though, right? It's for people with like light or really irregular or late periods. What about like aligning food choices with our menstrual phases? So supporting our body with different types of foods or drinks at different stages.
I'm not sure actually.
I mean, I always try to stick to warm or hot foods. And then, in the mornings I make my ginger. I mean, everybody in China does this, right? They have their flask, throw in ginger slices, hongzao, red dates, and goji berries. And I remember like, is there like a certain point in time where we're supposed to have more of the red dates? It's when our period comes to replenish the blood.
So in general, like when your period is here and you're losing blood, you should take in things that can give you more blood. So red dates during that time, and then plus, just taking things filled with iron, so can help you.
Or like pig's blood, actually.
Yeah.
Right? Well, I feel like when I grew up in Hong Kong, all my aunties and uncles would be like, eat this chicken liver, it's good for your liver.
Yeah.
Eat chicken's heart, it's good for your heart. Like eat, pig blood, it's good for your blood.
Yeah.
Okay, what about fertility and preconception? At this point in the States, I feel like all of my friends have a story of either themselves personally or their sister or their wife or their friend who had trouble conceiving and then went to an acupuncturist and then like now has 2 kids, right? What are the foundations we should be thinking about TCM even like 3 to 6 months in advance if we want to conceive?
There's actually been quite a lot of research done on how acupuncture can help with fertility. So I think I wouldn't say like the science, but I think the efficiency of acupuncture has been kind of like well researched and supported. Now, there's a lot of talk about how a lot of it is placebo effect, but whatever effect it is, if it works, it works.
Yeah,
right?
I agree.
And then plus acupuncture, one of the reasons why it works is that it does lower your stress. So as mentioned, like acupuncture does like immediately lower your blood pressure. And then when your stress is down, your libido is up, you feel you're in a good mood, you do have a higher chance of conceiving, right? Or, even orgasming, like having better sex.
Right, having an orgasm, yeah.
Yeah. And so acupuncture definitely can lower your stress level for sure. Now, there's the other things about how acupuncture, like in the right, like acupoints, can probably like restore your hormonal balance. So what it could do is that it could probably stimulate like your pituitary gland in order to secrete more like FS or luteinizing hormones.
Oh, FS is what? FSH?
FSH, yes.
Follicular...
follicular stimulating hormone.
Right.
Yeah, and LH is luteinizing hormone. And then both of that are involved in stimulating your uterus to release more estrogen and progesterone, which helps with conceiving, right? And then, so there's some science behind that. But I don't think it's as definitive as how acupuncture can lower your stress. And then at the same time, there's also some research behind how like when people are, after they have conceived, there are some people who have tendency to have miscarriages. So having acupuncture after you got pregnant can help stabilize the pregnancy as well.
Yeah, there are studies that have been done around, I did IVF, right? I did egg retrieval and froze embryos. And I did it in the States. And during that time, I actually found a local acupuncturist. Her name's Erin, lovely blonde lady. And she was so good. She was better than even some people I've used in China. And during the time of my egg retrieval, I was getting 3 acupuncture sessions a week. And I remember she had said, like, when you do transfer the embryo, to get an acupuncture session before and after, and it helps with stabilizing it. And all these studies have been done around it.
There's some studies about how acupuncture can also improve the quality of your eggs. However, I think that rather than improving the quality of the eggs, what it actually does is acupuncture improves like your circulation, and therefore as a whole body, like you take in more nutrition, and therefore like your eggs also kind of like develop better.
Yeah, well, I think it's the uterine blood flow, right? It's like the blood flow to your uterus. And she would always do, it's funny, for my irregular periods, we do my back, which is like my tailbone. But then for egg retrieval, she would do my front. So it would always kind of be around my abdomen area. And I had a great outcome. I had like 8 like grade AA embryos or something. What about moxibustion? Because I feel like that's quite mysterious to a lot of Americans. And aijiu, right? In Chinese we call it aijiu. And even for me, I discovered aijiu, moxibustion, later on in life. I mean, I grew up in Hong Kong with a lot of TCM, but then I spent like 10 years in the States studying, working, where I was drinking cold water, ice water. I wasn't blowing drying my hair. I was doing all these things were really bad for my health, actually. And I have to thank, like, going back, moving to Beijing in 2012 after Harvard Business School and starting my own business, really kind of threw me into like a deep understanding of Chinese culture and helped me, rediscover traditional Chinese medicine. And then when I began doing those practices, it wasn't because my parents were telling me to, or my mother was telling me to. It was because I realized the importance of it on my own. And that's when I discovered moxibustion. Tell us about moxibustion.
Moxibustion adds heat to whatever is happening. So usually like it's kind of like the same concept as acupuncture. Like it's also done on your acupuncture spots, and is also like based on, the same principles of improving blood flow between, the acupuncture spots, making sure that there's no stagnation like within your meridians. It's still around that. It's just, I think it's a different form, and people prefer acupuncture or moxibustion, or it's more like either or. Most people or they complement each other. But ultimately it's kind of like doing the same stuff, I think.
And it's different because acupuncture is needles, but moxibustion is like, it looks like a cigar.
Yeah.
It looks like a burning cigar.
Yeah.
And the practitioner is kind of like doing figure of 8s around your uterus area to heat up your uterus.
The way that I usually have it is like I have it on a spot. I think that's the correct way to do it.
In like a little wooden box?
In a wooden box, or like they just hold it right above your acupuncture spot.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So it's also with the acupuncture.
It's also with acupuncture spot. Either it's with the needles or without the needles. It can be either or. Yeah.
And I remember you saying like, is this working? This isn't actually touching me.
I feel that needles are more straightforward.
I agree. Like I'm Hong Kongese. I'm efficient.
And I kind of feel like moxibustion is getting more popular in recent years. So I didn't really hear a lot about it like growing up. I knew cupping, same. I knew acupuncture, but moxibustion is really something that has become a trend, I think maybe in the past 5 years. And probably because it's a lot of times it's incorporated with massage. And then so, it's kind of like an elevating experience, and then it's very peaceful. It's more about the comfort level rather than, I guess, kind of like the, how to say it, like the palliative part of it.
Yeah, I mean, all I know is that after I do moxibustion, I cannot see anybody because I smell like a chimney because it's so smoky. And what about movement? So TCM in terms of movement, like qigong and tai chi, to harmonize energy and calm the mind. Tell us about that.
So you know how there's like somatic psychology, right? So basically the mind and body is the same, and then meditation is something that falls within that. So a lot of people do meditation, do yoga, and then they find it working. I think in a way like qigong is a form of meditation or a form of like yoga in action, basically. Yeah. It's just the movements are a little bit different. But in the end, like what the movements are supposed to do is supposed to guide your meridians. So guide the energy flow that runs through your different meridians. You have 12 meridians in your body, 12 major meridians. And then you have like another like 8 so-called extraordinary meridians. And then so what the qigong is through the different bodily movements, it guides like kind of like the energy and blood flow. a lot of people, like after they do qigong, they do feel like certain like tingling feeling. It's like the blood is flowing through your body, that kind of feeling, and it feels really good. Yeah.
I mean, it looks very slow, so it doesn't look like you're getting exercise. But when you're doing qigong, within 10 minutes, you're like sweating completely, because it actually, it is a very good form of exercise. Okay, what about postpartum recovery, right? Which is confinement month, 坐月子, which, for our listeners out there, it's basically when after giving birth for 30 to 40 days, usually it's a month, new mothers have to rest, and they don't wash their hair, they stay warm, and they eat specific healing foods to rebuild their qi and their blood. And us Chinese have been doing it for what, like since the beginning of time, and now Americans are starting to do it, and it's an ancient practice that's becoming popular in the West.
Yeah.
So tell us more about 月子.
So 月子, as you mentioned, so it's like after you give birth, it's more like, think of it as you're shedding a big piece of you, right? So it's like you're removing a piece of meat, almost like you're removing an organ, kind of like that.
Because the baby is an organ?
It's organ? Even bigger than an organ.
What exactly is it?
What I'm trying to say that is a big lump of cells that is removed from your body.
You mean when you give birth?
Yes.
There's like a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, it's like post-surgery. It's like when you're doing surgery and then you remove a part of you. You need to recover, right, in order to get well. So it's a similar concept. So you do have to recover after you're giving birth, because you just removed a really big part of you that has been with you like for the whole gestation period. Yeah. And so first of all, you need to rest, but within the resting period, like there's certain things that you need to keep in mind of. The reason why like they don't wash the hair is because during childbirth, it is said that like all your pores open up. And then because all your pores open up, like it takes time for the pores to, close off. And before the pores close off, your body is vulnerable to different perils, like in the environment, including like heat, including dampness, wind especially is really bad and gets into your head.
寒气,
yes.
Cold wind.
So that's why you should avoid, exacerbating the situation. So you should allow the pores to just close as fast as possible.
And how long does that take for the pores to close? A month? Is that why?
Well, I mean, I think that in reality it's more like a week. But traditionally, like 坐月子, so the whole concept is 30 days, up to 45 days.
月 means month in Chinese. So it's like the sitting. 坐 is sitting, 月 is month, 子 is what? Just sitting the month.
But most people, they just don't wash the hair for the first week.
Yeah, so you need a really good dry shampoo.
Yeah. And then it's about the food that you're intaking. So because when you're giving birth, it's after you give birth, like you become very weak, and there's lack of blood, there's lack of qi. So generally speaking, like you need to have all the food that can give you more qi and more energy, and as well as like more blood to increase the blood flow. Now, it doesn't mean that you have to necessarily eat TCM herbs for that. It's not like medicine per se, but then it's just like dietary stuff. So for example, like you can eat more rice. Usually people eat more rice like after they give birth.
Or congee.
Or congee to help with digestion.
Yeah.
Because supposedly like with the lack of qi and lack of blood, like your digestion is also, not optimal. So that's why you have to eat all the soft foods. And you have to eat light foods, like with less seasoning. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just funny now that there are confinement centers in LA. Obviously, in China and Shanghai, these confinement centers can go very, very expensive. And they're like little luxury hotels where everybody's kind of like waiting on you and serving you the best, like Chinese herbs like donghui and huangqi, or, whatever it is. Yeah. So perimenopause and menopause. A woman goes into, and obviously menopause is having a big moment now. A woman goes into perimenopause at the age of 45, which is when menopausal symptoms begin to show, whether it's night sweats or brain fog or this or that. Typically, a woman goes into full-blown menopause at the age of 51, which is technically the 365th day of not having her period. And symptoms, there are over 34 symptoms: hot flashes, emotional swings. What can we do from a TCM perspective to help with menopause?
So to help with menopause, so you can take some TCM herbs to help with it. So for example, like there's this formula that I've been looking into because I'm also like experiencing some perimenopause already. There's this formula called 二仙汤, and it actually it's quite complicated. So it has around 10 herbs. So people who are interested, they can go look it up. It's translated into two immortals soup, something like that.
I love the names, these Chinese, like all these Chinese formulas. It's like 4 decoction, and then like 8 royal imperial treasures. And,
Yeah.
so this is the, what is this? The 二仙汤.
Yeah.
Means two
immortals.
Two immortals. Wow,
Yeah.
2 immortal soup. Okay.
Yeah. And so what it actually does is that the combination of the herbs, it actually helps your pituitary gland actually.
The one in the brain, right?
Hypothalamus like controls your pituitary gland. So it actually promotes your hypothalamus to release more gonadotropin releasing factor to basically improve the performance of a pituitary gland so that the pituitary gland will continue to produce more estrogen and progesterone without declining. So it's not really like taking supplements. Taking supplements is more like you're intaking something that does not belong to you. With traditional Chinese medicine, with all these formulas, what they're trying to do when they say restoring balance is they're restoring balance to what is comfortable and suitable for you based on your own bodily conditions. So it's to make you feel more comfortable rather than and producing your own hormones.
Yeah.
You're producing your own hormones, basically.
As opposed to just taking that hormone, right?
Exactly, yeah.
Because in the West, they'd give you like hormone replacement therapy, HRT, and they'd give you the patch. So it's literally just estrogen like going into your body.
Yeah.
But with traditional Chinese medicine, it's about a formula of herbs that helps you produce more estrogen.
Yes.
On your own.
And then because you're producing it on your own, so there's much lower risk of overproducing what you can intake.
Right, because then that leads to cancer. I mean, right, if you have too much estrogen. And I think there are also daily rituals that, I talk about in my Instagram feed, which is wearing socks at home, so not going barefoot, not drinking cold things or ice things. And obviously, doing a little plug for Antevorta here, using our wash wipes or sprays that help with vaginal dryness and vaginal odor. And Annie, can you talk about our core formula that's in our product? Because we're all formulated with traditional Chinese medicinal herbs.
So these kind of products, they are topical, and so they're to be used on...
Can you lift one up and show that camera?
So this is, for example, our award-winning Intimate Hydrating Cleansing Gel.
Oh, yeah. We just won Best Wash in Oprah Daily. Haha.
Yeah. And
in the Menopause Awards.
We really took a great deal of effort in designing this whole product. So aside from, the basic formulation with it, even the texture is meant to look like really, goldish and then very luxury. And it's supposed to pamper you, like when you're using it in the shower.
It's going to elevate your shower routine. Let's put it that way.
So all of our products are based on a core formula called 五味消毒饮, which is translates into English as the five herbs to detoxify decoction.
Yeah. Five herbs eliminating something. Here,
eliminating toxins.
Again, some long and unwieldy Chinese translation.
Yes. So these 5 herbs are Chinese violet herb, dandelion extracts, chrysanthemum, Japanese honeysuckle, as well as 天葵子, which is a type of root. So basically, the combination of these herbs, what they're supposed to do is it helps repair your skin. Because, like our skin day to day, like it has a lot of, they call micro wounds. So it's not really like you're bleeding, right? But then especially when you're dry, like for example, if you're in perimenopause or menopause stage, like you have a lot of vaginal dryness. And then so with movements, for example, exercising or like even like with intercourse, shaving, that as well.
Yeah, intercourse or maybe even just wearing just with your clothes, right?
Yes.
Wearing your underwear.
So you do get a lot of these micro wounds. And then micro wounds.
Wounds.
Yes,
micro wounds.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then so this 五味消毒饮 formula, it actually helps your skin to heal. It was originally designed for skin healing, actually.
Yeah. It was for wound. It was a skin healing wound medicine.
Yes. And then at the same time, like because of vaginal dryness, so a lot of people like they get like vaginal itches. as well as vaginal dryness also because your vaginal lining becomes thinner. You're also more susceptible to, like infections. And then
So more UTIs. That's why so many
more
women
UTI, more BVs,
Yeah,
yeast
yeah.
infections.
Yeast
Yeah,
infections,
you get
yeah.
that. And so this formula, what it does is that although it's not like OTC, it's not medicine, right? But then a lot of the herbs, like they have their own natural like antimicrobial properties as well. And so that also helps with, soothing and then also with you feeling like less inflamed.
Yeah, and I sent the products to my book publicist, and she emailed me one day and she said, FYI, TMI, but I thought I was getting a yeast infection. I felt it coming on, and I used the wash and it cleared up in a day. And she loves it. She swears by our products. I mean, they're really incredible products. And our wipes are flushable, 100% plant-based fibers, biodegradable, safe for sewers, great for public restrooms, or everything can be used over your whole body as well.
Yes.
So our sprays can also be deodorants for under your arms in addition to down there. And same with the wipes. And what I've noticed is a lot of our customers, they put the wash in the shower and their husbands like to use it on their face. So, that's because a lot of men, even my husband, he doesn't like to put moisturizer on.
Yeah.
Because he feels it's too oily.
Yes.
So because our wash is so hydrating.
And it has collagen.
Yeah, it has vegan. Yeah, it has collagen in it. And our products are vegan, that even after washing and like washing it off, you feel really hydrated for the whole day. Okay, I want us to play a little game called TCM or TBS. And I'm going to read some traditional or wild health claims. And Annie, you have to call it. Is it TCM, true, or is it total bullshit, false?
What if it's somewhere in between? Which sometimes is the case.
Okay, that's true. Sometimes it is the case. Okay, well, we'll go case by case. Okay, first one. Eating bull penis, which in Chinese is 牛鞭, boosts male virility.
TBS.
Total bullshit?
Yeah.
Ooh, I'm going to have to tell one of my ex-boyfriends that. I remember he used to love eating it was like penis. It was like, so it was balls. Yes, it was penis and the balls in a noodle. and he was a Hong Kong boyfriend. And every time he'd come to Beijing, he had to have this dish. I remember once we were sitting there and he was complaining and we were two of my other friends, and all he did was complain about how there weren't enough balls in his bull penis and testicle noodle soup. And I was like, God, get a life. I obviously broke up with him. Not judging him for eating it.
Did it help?
Let me think about his sexual skills and capacities. I think maybe he thought that he was good at it, but I don't think he was terribly good in bed. Nah.
Okay. But it is TBS because there's really absolutely no scientific evidence whatsoever.
Again, this goes back to that Chinese thing. If you eat this organ, it's good for your relative organ.
But I would say that there is probably a psychological effect. When men feel confident, somehow it does boost their performance, right? And then so if they're eating whatever they could be eating, as long as it makes them feel confident, I think, that's already an improvement to having lack of confidence.
Right. It's all about confidence for everybody, men or women.
It's just a little bit sad that they have to take that in order to have confidence. Yeah.
Okay. Second example, vaginal steaming detoxes your womb. I mean, you did vaginal steaming.
TCM, yes.
TCM, okay.
Yes.
So tell us why.
Okay, so if you think about it, vaginal steaming is like going to the sauna, right?
And then more like the steam room.
Steam room. Steam room. I always get confused. Okay, so it's like going to a steam room. And then so somehow the heat, the steam, it actually does improve your blood circulation, even without adding any herbs, right? Just the steam itself. It opens up your pores and then it improves your circulation. It helps your skin intake whatever nutrition is topically applied. And so similarly, if you add TCM herbs, you can blend your own formula and then just add it in. You can just steam it. You can even steam your whole body or you steam your face. It doesn't necessarily have to be, your vagina.
Yeah. And you know what? When my parents would do the herbal TCM customized formulas, our housekeeper at home would make it. And I remember we had a housekeeper who had really bad acne. And after 3 months, all she was doing was cooking my mother's herbal medicine. She wasn't even drinking it herself, but she was obviously inhaling it because from the condensation, her skin cleared up.
That's interesting.
Her skin cleared up.
Yeah.
And by the way, we have plenty of customers who leave reviews on our website saying that they use our wash, our Antevorta hydrating intimate cleansing wash, and that it got rid of their bacne or acne on their face. And later on, I was really intrigued. I Googled 无味消毒饮, which is our core formula, and I Googled that and acne, and then all these clinical studies came out where, you know, it helps detoxify the skin and clear that. So that's really fascinating for me. So, okay, cool. So that's TCM. All right, next one. Slapping your body with bamboo boosts circulation. Like Chinese people do like to hit themselves sometimes. They'll be like, oh.
Okay, so yes, it does boost your circulation.
Why? I mean, I guess if you're touching something or if you're like hitting it, it makes it react.
It concentrates blood flow to that area.
Oh, so if I like start tapping on my
yes, it does arm. It does mobilize like your, you know, like blood cells. So your blood cells, red blood cell, white blood cell, they all go there. So it does like concentrate your blood flow.
Okay, so TCM, guys, next time. And for those friends who are living in like New England.
But I have to say, so there's this thing called slap therapy. And then in China, in TCM.
I think that's just called like an abusive Chinese girlfriend.
That too.
Slap.
Yeah. But it is quite serious because some TCM doctor got sued over this. So apparently like there's this therapy called拍打. So 拍打 as in slapping.
Yeah.
And then 拍打拉筋. So 拍打 slapping plus like pulling your muscles.
Yeah, pulling your
And then so that's actually a TCM practice. But it's not very common nowadays because there's not a lot of science behind it. But then this one doctor, like he was so good at promoting this therapy thing, like he was convincing people to stop taking their insulin, things like insulin.
Oh.
And then so I think like TCM doctors like nowadays, like they really know the boundaries of ethics, right? So there are certain things that you just cannot cure because you're just not comparable to Western medicine in that sense.
Yeah.
Right. And then so this TCM doctor actually got sued over trying to promote a slapping therapy.
What, in China?
He did it, I think, in Australia. I'm not 100% sure. He's Chinese.
Yeah,
but then he wasn't practicing in China.
Okay, next one. Garlic on your feet clears a cold.
TBS.
Really? So, because I know you like to do like foot soak. I mean, I do foot soaks, and you like to do that thing where you stick something on your foot.
Ginger.
And then the sweat comes out. My dad likes to do that too. And then my dad likes to show me. He'll be like, "Look, it's all black." He'll take a photo,
yeah. I love seeing it when they become wet, and you know, like when you do the foot soak, like it actually takes out your stuff.
Okay. Yeah. So for our listeners out there, foot soaks, which actually are also very good if you suffer from cold hands, cold feet, or if it's the wintertime, or if you're trying to conceive, then soaking your feet actually before bedtime. Not too close to bedtime, but like sort of near the end of the day, in warm to like not like boil, don't make it very hot water, but kind of like a little hotter than warm, and then adding like there are these Chinese herbal packs, and Annie's gifted me plenty of them that I like to use. What those do is they pull the toxins out of your sweat, sweat and feet. Annie, you do a better job explaining this.
Yeah, you said it correctly. Yeah.
Okay, and then what Annie likes to use are foot stickers.
Yes.
And you sleep in them, right? Tell us how you just like describe them.
They're kind of like the dried version of the foot soak, essentially. It's like the same thing that you would drop in the foot soak, except that it's dried when you apply, and then I just tape it onto the bottom of my feet.
And then you go to bed.
And I go to bed. It's just more convenient than the soak, but then it actually does the same thing. Yeah. And then in the morning, usually you can see like the foot sticker is like completely soaked. It's wet. Because it's pulling out the dampness from your body, and then it also turns black because like the color also changes with like the herbs also change. So
garlic on your feet clearing a cold is BS, but if it's ginger, it's okay.
Yeah, it's ginger because it has to do with the herbs. Some herbs like ginger. There's also like other things that you can apply, like lavender. Some people apply it to help with the sleep. It's also quite good. Garlic in particular, like it's not really like TCM related, but garlic does have this compound called the allicin compound, and then it's supposed to boost your immunity. So that's why
Chinese people love it so much.
So that's why some people feel that, like garlic, like when you take garlic, generally speaking, it helps with the immunity. Yeah. It's not necessarily like if you apply it topically.
Right. Bird's nest makes your face glow. TCM or TBS?
TCM.
So for listeners out there, bird's nest is actually swiftlet saliva. Yes, like it's like a type of bird, little bird, and the way they make that bird's nests are they like regurgitate the saliva out. And I grew up, it's a delicacy in Chinese culture. It's very expensive. The best ones are in Malaysia, right? My grandma will be like, oh, this one's from Malaysia. It's good. And I had no idea it was bird saliva. Because, they just say yan wo, yin wo. And so I just thought it was some kind of maybe like, vegetable that was used to, or twig, who knows. They used to create this bird's nest. And only at a certain age, I realized, holy shit, I've been eating bird saliva. That's so gross.
It's not so much gross, but more like it's not really ethical.
Yeah. And we are an ethical people. I mean, at least you and I are.
Yeah. It is TCM because bird's nest, like when all the court ladies are doing it, like all the
palace court ladies.
The palace court ladies, empresses, they're smart women,
yeah,
right? So
they know how to take care of themselves.
If it's not working, they're not going to do it for so long, throughout all these generations down to us. But then it's later proven that so bird's nests contain collagen to start with, and so it's also so that's why it's good for your skin. And then at the same time, like bird's nests contain like what they call like epidermal growth hormone, so it helps with the skin cells renewal. So again, it helps with the rejuvenation of the skin,
anti-aging,
and all that. Yeah. So it does help with your skin like becoming more glowing.
So we'll probably see a spike in like bird's nest now for mature ladies listening to this pod. And why is it endangered? It's not banned, right?
It's not endangered. It's just that the reason why like these swallows like they spit out their saliva is to use to coagulate like the nest, like the twigs, to form their homes, right?
Yeah, it's like glue.
It's like glue. So that's why like when you see sometimes like when the bird's nest, like you would see like their wood like or woody stuff or feathers like stuck inside the bird's nest, and then you have to like traditionally like we would do it at home like when we're processing, you have to sift, you have to hand pick. So using like the clips, you have to clip out all these like little leaves and twigs.
It's very intensive.
Yeah, it's very intensive. But then it's like cleaning, right? So so essentially what you're doing is you're breaking down their home. And then when you're removing the glow, so what happens is that the swallows, they will naturally spit out more saliva to glue their home. So as they spit out more saliva, it will come to a point in which they were spitting out their own blood. So there's this kind of bird's nest that is actually really expensive called bloody bird nest, 血丝. So it's like bird nest. So it's bird's nest that you can see like red lines like inside the bird's nest. That's when like the swallow is already like spitting out the blood.
Why is that more expensive?
For the rarity.
Oh, this is so sad.
It's really sad. Like there's no like additional nutritional value to it. Yeah.
I'm gonna stop eating bird's nest.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Eating turtle jelly, 龟苓膏, relieves heatiness.
TCM. Yes.
Okay, so it's legit.
It's legit, but the original 龟苓膏has turtles in it.
Yeah, now it's just powder. Now it's
herbs. Yeah.
Oh, now it's herbs.
But then traditionally, like when the emperors were eating it, they were using turtles, and
turtle
then
shell, I think, right?
The turtle, the belly part of the turtle shell.
Yeah, which it's so sad. I mean, well, in Hong Kong, even dotted around like the central business districts of Hong Kong, there were always kind of these like stores that would just focus on selling 龟苓膏.
Yes.
And they'd always, like, as decoration, there'd be this huge metal canister, which it would come out of. And then they would, for display, have some huge ass turtle shell, like, on display. And I'm so glad now that it's powder and herbs, because turtle it's like one Chinese food that I really cannot eat. I mean, I know it's a delicacy. And when I'm back in China, in Zhejiang province, because Zhejiang is considered one of the richest provinces of China, and my husband and his friends are all like, they have all these things. They have like, what's the soft shell turtle again?
Is it tortoise?
甲鱼, yes, 甲鱼, yeah.
Okay.
And I cannot bring myself to eat that, because I believe that they're sacred. Like, then they say 甲鱼很神奇, right? Like they have a spirit and a sacred soul around them. And that's just one thing like I could not bring myself to eat. But yeah, so eating turtle jelly in herbal powder form or whatever does reduce heatiness, so it's
Yes.
good for your body.
Yes,
If you have
it's
too
based
much.
on a formula actually. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So Annie, what are your top TCM tips for women who are listening who are thinking of starting this journey?
Oh, I have a pretty good one, which is good for fertility as well as for, people who are dealing with menopause. So we were talking about like the kidney yang, like being kind of like the central to women's health, right? So there is this one of the 8 so-called like extraordinary meridians in the body, like actually connects the heart, which is around here. It connects the heart to your uterus, which is here, and then leading to kind of like the kidney area as well. So there's this kind of like breathing exercise that I recently learned. So this whole meridian is called the bao mai. Bao mai.
And so for
Mai
those
is meridian.
of you who are listening to the audio only, it's basically in the front, runs from your neck down to
Runs from the heart.
runs from your heart.
Runs from the heart
to your
to
abdomen.
your, actually runs to your uterus, which is like right below your belly.
Right below your belly button.
Yes, right below belly button. So what you could do with the breathing exercise is you put your right hand right on your heart. You put your left hand right on your abdomen underneath your belly button. And then you can breathe and exhale slowly. And then as you are breathing, close your eyes and then visualize like there's a dot. There's a line and then there's a dot that's moving, between the 2 dots. So when you're inhaling, the dot is moving from the abdomen into your heart. When you're exhaling, it's moving downwards from your heart into your abdomen. And then you can do it slowly, recommended for 3 minutes a day.
And what does that do? We're doing it right now, guys. What does this do to you? What does
It
help with?
actually removes the stagnation within this bao mai, within this meridian. So by removing stagnation, it improves the blood flow between your heart and then your kidney yang and then your uterus. And then because the heart is the organ in charge of pumping in all the nutrition, pumping all the blood. So when the stagnation is removed, when this meridian is clear, your heart is pumping in more efficiently all this nutrition, all this good stuff, like to your uterus. So it helps with fertility, and dealing with menopause.
Yeah. Wow. If it's good for fertility, it's good for menopause.
Yeah, and then some people who are really like into meditation, they can also like introduce words like slogans for themselves, like
Yeah,
when they're
like a mantra.
Yeah, when they're inhaling, they're saying something. When they're exhaling, they're saying something else.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Thank you. And for I have a lot of people who ask me, whether it's DMing me or just asking me, saying, how do I go about finding a TCM doctor? How do I find an acupuncturist? I live in, Tampa, Florida. Well, so here's the thing. Go to your local Chinatown or go to a local Chinese restaurant and just ask for the boss or, a manager and ask for their tip, because a lot of this stuff is really word of mouth. And so for us Chinese people, the way me and Annie bonded was over sharing our TCM vendors. But oftentimes if I travel, because I like to keep up my routine no matter where I am, I will open Apple Maps and I'll just put in like acupuncturist or traditional TCM clinic or Tui Na, like Chinese massage. And usually like the ratings are pretty real. And I found some fantastic TCM doctors that way. Erin, the lovely blonde lady who did my acupuncture when I was doing my egg retrieval, or whether it's Dr. Kim over here in Koreatown in New York City, I found on Apple Maps, and I've been seeing Dr. Kim now for well over a year, like twice a week. All right, guys. So, you guys wanted TCM. I'm giving it to you. I gave it to you. And now you know the power of combining ancient practices into our modern life today. Start small, stay curious, and listen to your body. Listeners, thank you for tuning into Mind Your Manners. This is your host and etiquette life guide, Sara Jane Ho. And remember, no matter what life throws at you, with me in your ear, you got this. Visit my YouTube channel to watch the video, and don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment. I'll see you next Tuesday. And don't forget to buy all of our Antevorta products on antevorta.us. That's ANTEVORTA.US for wash, wipes, and sprays that will help with odor, dryness, and irritation down south. made with traditional Chinese medicine.